started. I'm going to pass it over to Alejandro to do a quick moment if you need to listen to the presentation in Spanish. So Alejandro, you can go ahead.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me. My name is Alejandro with Community Language Cooperative. And to make sure that everyone is able to participate in the language of their heart and they feel most comfortable with, we're going to have simultaneous interpretation between English and Spanish. In case we have Spanish in the room, it's best if we all prepare and select our language, even if that is English. So if you're a monolingual English speaker, after these instructions, you'll click on the globe icon, select English, and then hit mute original audio. And then just give me just a moment to repeat this in Spanish. Hola a todos, gracias por tenerme aquí con ustedes. Mi nombre es Alejandro de la Cooperativa Comunitaria de Lenguaje. Queremos establecer la justicia del lenguaje lo más posible, así que si usted prefiere escuchar en español, va a poder seleccionar el icono de globo o de mundo en la parte inferior de su pantalla y de ahí podrá seleccionar el español y poner el audio en mudo justo después. Muchas gracias. Thank you very much. I'll pass it back to you, Adam.
Thank you. So we are here today to talk about the Via Verde Trail project. Going to give an overview of our project team here today, and then talk a little bit about the past planning that's been done for the Via Verde, talk about some project background, and then get into the details on the proposed improvements, and then our project timeline, and discuss opportunities for feedback, and then have time for questions and answers. So for anybody who joined a little bit later, please hold all of your questions till the end of the presentation, but feel free to use the chat function to type in any questions as we're going through the presentation. And then at the end, we'll just circle back and go down the line for those and answer any additional questions. So my name is adam.lind. I'm the Senior Trails Planner for Denver Parks and Rec. On the project team, it's also a partnership with the Denver Department of Transportation and Infrastructure, both their green infrastructure team and their bike and ped team. And then our consultants on the project are Valerian, which is the landscape architecture firm, and Icon Engineering. So the Via Verde is an idea that was started in 2016 through the Westwood neighborhood plan. And there was an idea for a connected network of green spaces. So kind of just outlined a rough idea of what could be. And then in 2020, the Trust for Public Land, which is another one of our partners on this project, and other neighborhood partners worked with the community to create the Via Verde plan that outlines a wide variety of infrastructure improvements and other wayfinding signs and branding that we'll touch on later to really bring this whole Via Verde into existence and into reality. So the Via Verde route here, you can kind of see is this outside line in green that uses a combination of streets, trails, parks, sidewalks, bike lanes to create that series of interconnected green spaces that also includes green infrastructure and street art and murals and kind of all these cool things to tie the neighborhood areas together and develop a healthy, active network in the Westwood neighborhood. And so one of the elements of the project is wayfinding. And so that kind of ties everything together no matter where you are on the Via Verde, whether you're on a sidewalk, in a bike lane, on a trail, that you know where the route goes and kind of ties everything together. So you can see there's ideas for curb painting, decals on sidewalks, yard signs, kind of standard wayfinding signs, butterfly car and landmarks, pole banners, kind of all of these things. So as part of this project, we won't be implementing everything here, but we'll be doing some of these elements through this project. So to give a little bit more reference, our project is here with this line in green that's kind of west of Irving Street and continues off the screen to Kentucky. But there's also two new park projects going on in the area, one at Irving and Kentucky, and then one at Kentucky and Knox. And then the city, both Department of Transportation and Infrastructure and Parks and Rec has recently completed a new trail section along this urban corridor that goes over to Federal Boulevard. And so the idea here is, again, we're building out this full network of bicycle pedestrian movements using existing and new infrastructure as part of the Via Verde. So the parks piece is just one small piece of the larger project that the city is working on. So just some background on looking at the project need. This section between Kentucky and Irving Street was identified in the Via Verde plan. We're focused on creating new connections and improving the crossing to the schools. And then it also provides us an opportunity to add new trees, pollinator gardens, ADA upgrades, street crossing improvements, and we'll get into some of those details in a little bit here. So DPR has developed an equity index that was developed in 2020 and updated in 2022. And this utilizes several factors, including park investment, income, communities of color, and more, to kind of rate all the neighborhoods in Denver and look at where we should be making our investments. Really want to look at those neighborhoods that are in highest need, that have been kind of overlooked historically and not invested in, and make sure that we're investing in those neighborhoods first before we start spending our budget and taxpayer dollars in these lower equity need areas. And the Westwood neighborhood ranked the highest in need. I'll show the map in a second, in that highest category. And that kind of gives us more motivation to prioritize this project and get it completed in the near term. So this is the equity index map that covers Denver, and the darker colors in green are the higher equity need neighborhoods, whereas the yellows and the lighter greens are the areas of lesser need that have higher incomes and have historically been invested in very well by the city. So we're over here in the Westwood neighborhood. So this is the kind of the limits of our project. Starts at Irving here and goes through this kind of grassy space. It's an Excel easement past the library, and then follows the existing path diagonally up through Kentucky. So there's two segments that we're working on here. Funding for this project is currently fully funded. So both design and construction are funded. Design is started this year and will stretch into next year, about $250,000. And then we anticipate construction starting in 2024. Should be done in that one year of construction, with an estimated budget of $1.25 million. And that'll be funded through both DOTI and DPR CIP funding, applying for grants, and working with our partners to help fund that project. But we're fully committed to funding this and getting it built in 2024. So just going to go through some pictures of the existing conditions from a site walk that we did a while back this year. This is the main section in between Irving and Ford, next to Ford Place. That's this wide open grassy space where a new trail is going to go. This picture shows the intersection. The schools are all on this side to the left of the picture. So we'll be introducing a new crossing at this location. Some more photos kind of just going through that median grassy area. We'll be trying to preserve all of these trees in addition to planting new ones. And here we are as we kind of pass through the library. The library is on the west here on Lowell. So this is a narrow sidewalk that will be expanding to 10 feet. And same thing here on Tennessee looking west. We'll be widening this existing narrow sidewalk to meet trail standards and be able to handle two-way bicycle and pedestrian traffic. And then you kind of enter the park here at Meade Street, where the existing trail is. It's 8 feet wide, so it doesn't meet our local standard, which is 10 feet. There's broken panels. The ADA ramps aren't up to par and they're not up to standard. So we'll be widening this trail to 10 feet, pouring all new concrete, upgrading the ADA ramps, and we'll show some more details of that in a minute. Again, here you can see a picture of an old ADA ramp that doesn't have truncated dome, and the slopes look steeper than what they should be. So that's kind of just a brief overview of some of the in the field pictures. So those proposed improvements, like I mentioned, we'll be constructing a new trail in between Irving and King Street, and along Tennessee Avenue. We'll be widening that sidewalk. We'll be upgrading the trail from Meade Street to Patton Street in Kentucky. We'll be doing crossing improvements along the trail where we can, introducing green infrastructure to manage stormwater better, and then be looking to plant new trees, upgrading irrigation, and creating pollinator habitat. So diving into the details here, this is a rendering of what that new trail would look like. So the school would be kind of, if you imagine standing right here is where this image is taken. So the school is back this way. We'll have a nice meandering trail with new trees for shade, all the way to King Street, new crossing and new curb ramps here. And then we'll use the existing sidewalk that is to the west here through the Westwood Library. And we'll talk about the details here at Irving Street, but we're proposing to have a raised crosswalk to help slow vehicles and help kids safely cross to get to all the schools on that side. Additionally, we'll have green infrastructure both at this corner and around this area to help handle the stormwater and help clean it before it gets sent into the system. So moving west, again, this is the Westwood Library here, proposing to have bump outs, which will reduce the crossing distance for people using the trail. So widening these walks to 10 feet, building this trail at 10 feet here. We'll be striping a new crosswalk on this side. In order to widen this, we're trying to preserve these trees. And so we'll be extending the sidewalk into the roadway, which will make parking unavailable on the north side, but it'll still remain here on the south side of Tennessee. And then, yeah, kind of this is the bigger picture as we extend the trail diagonally all the way to Kentucky. So we'll be widening all of this to 10 feet from the existing 8 feet, getting rid of all the broken panels, updating curb ramps at all of the crossings. We are looking at doing additional work at these crossings to improve safety, whether that's additional striping, signage, potentially some kind of bump outs, maybe with flex posts here, since they are minor, lower volumes, but we're working with Dottie on that as well. And as you can see, some more tree plantings and pollinator habitat. So going back to that first intersection at Irving Street and Tennessee. So the plan right now is to move the existing bike lanes, or the bike lanes that are in design right now. We'll move them behind the curb for this one block section. We'll have stormwater, green infrastructure, and then we'll have a raised crosswalk at this location for the trail crossing over to the school. So something kind of new for Denver. I'm not sure if we have any raised crossings yet. There's some in the parks, but we'll be proposing this here on Irving Street. And then this is a little bit more detail of that crossing at Lowell, where you can see the trails, the sidewalks are widened, bumped out, so that crossing distance is reduced for trail users. So green infrastructure, if you're not familiar with that, here's some images, and it's really a way to capture rainwater before it gets sent into the pipes. And so it has a lot of environmental benefits. And we'll be looking at doing that on Irving Street and as well adjacent to the trail as it winds through that green space. So we're looking at both rain gardens and stormwater planters for this corridor right now. So also here's just a picture of some of the plantings that we're looking at. We are looking to plant some more trees, also do some native seeding and create pollinator habitat. The trees are a little bit tricky since we are working in an Excel easement, and there's large Excel power lines overhead. So we are somewhat limited in what we can do. This graphic is something that kind of helps to show, where that wire zone is, what the limits are. So you can't have anything more than 10 feet taller, more than 10 feet tall in this zone, a little bit further away, 15 feet, outer zone, there's no height restriction. We're probably not getting to this outer zone with how small some of our area is for this project. But you can see like they're worried about, even if you're far away, if the tree falls, like, will it still hit these power lines? So if you're familiar with this area, you know that Excel came in and chopped the tops off some of the existing trees that are there. So we'll be planting trees that are in that same kind of height as the existing ones, but still trying to provide shade So likely planting those on the south side of the trail. So during construction, we want to talk about potential impacts of the project. So we'll likely be phasing it, so the whole trail won't be closed at one time. It'll be closed in pieces. When the trail is closed, we'll have a bike ped detour route sign that would use some of the lower volume streets and existing sidewalks. Some of this work is happening in the street. There's going to be improvements to stormwater infrastructure, pipes, drainage. So there will be roadway detours and potential closures, so traffic control to reroute not only bicycle and pedestrian traffic, but also vehicle traffic. And we're coordinating with Denver Public Schools, and we'll continue on that to make sure that we're not impacting any of their routes significantly. So to touch on the project timeline here, the project started in April of this year. And so from that time, we did kind of survey, data collection, and developed this 30% design plan. We're here in October having this public outreach and getting feedback from you all. And then we'll continue with design later this year and into the spring. So we'll take any comments and feedback that we get, see how we can work that into the project design, if there's anything we're missing or that the community really desires. And then after we get to 90% design, it's really when we have a lot of the details worked out. We'll have another public outreach event and process to try and make sure that we covered what was desired, get feedback again. And at that point, we'll be working towards finishing up the design later next summer into the fall, and then use the end of 2024 to kind of get all of our funding together, or the end of 2023 to get all of our funding together, work on procurement, and have a construction contractor on board to start construction in early 2024. And like I mentioned earlier, we don't expect that the construction would go more than one season. So hopefully the project should be complete by early fall 2024 if everything goes according to plan. So in terms of feedback, we'll have question and answer here in a minute once we finish this presentation. We'll have the presentation posted online. So if you want to get to this information, if you kind of just Google Denver Parks and Rec Westwood projects, we have a page that has all of the projects. As I mentioned, there's some other park projects going on in the area, and we will have all of these there so you can click through those links, get to the presentation, see the meeting boards, plan graphics. All of that information will be posted on the website. You can email questions to me. My email is here. It's just adam.lind at denvergov.org. And we'll have our kind of project comment period open until Sunday, October 23rd. So that's a little bit more than 2 weeks. So people who aren't able to make the meeting can get online, hear from their neighbors, look at that information, and get us any questions, comments, and then we'll continue on with the project. So yeah, just want to thank everybody for joining us tonight. I know this was a relatively short presentation, but yeah, here's my email address, and then we can open it up for any questions. If anybody has questions, you can just unmute yourself and feel free to ask. Or use the chat.
And Adam, I'm going to interject. There was some people that came in, and Alejandro may not be able to let us know if people are speaking in Spanish. So I'll just say something in Spanish really quick. Para esos que entraron, si en cualquier pregunta lo pueden poner en el chat, o también se pueden quitar y poder usar su micrófono para que las podamos escuchar. Entonces, si tiene cualquier pregunta para Adam o el equipo, por favor, déjenos saber.
So if anybody has questions, now is the time. Otherwise, that's all we have for the presentation here. I will put that timeline back up.
I have a question. Are there going to be more meetings or outreach to the community to let them know about this project? Or what's the, I'm sorry if you had already said it. I just got in Zoom late. Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. So we've done a little bit of kind of pop-up outreach. We had a little event outside of the school, talked to some kids, didn't really talk to any parents. I think Shandi, you can maybe interject if you want to talk about the Chili Fest and if you were able to do that. But at this point, kind of this 30% phase, this is our planned outreach for a public meeting, and then we'll use the feedback that we get to update our design and continue moving forward. And then we'll have another outreach event in the spring with a more detailed design for this project.
Yeah, I would just add, hey everyone, it's Chandi. I'm with Trust for Public Land, and I was out at Chili Fest in September with the boards, the images that were shown tonight, and talked to a number of people as they came out. It was a cold and rainy day, so there wasn't the masses that normally come through Chili Fest, but we did get some really great connections and engagement. So I think that as we look to the public outreach that can happen in the spring, we'd love to connect in advance with you, Maricendi, and others in the community to really plan out the public outreach in a way that really meets you all in the community and makes it more accessible.
Adam, we have a question from Alan. He asks, what does the crossing at Hazel look like? Any bulb outs or raised crosswalks?
At this point, we are looking at bump outs at the corner here. So at least likely on one side, and we'll potentially on the other. But if that's if that's a desire, we'll take that into consideration and see if there's a way to make that work. And see if it also has to meet, we'll have to work with Dottie to get approval from their kind of street engineering department for bump outs, but we can take a closer look at that intersection as well.
And well, not a question. We do have a comment from Erika, who apologizes for being late to the meeting, but she is interested in attending any upcoming meetings on this project.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'll just put my email address up here. So you can feel free to just reach out and send me an email, and we'll stay connected as we move forward with the project. Yeah, Mary, if you have a question or a comment, go for it.
Sí, buenas tardes. Tengo una sugerencia. En lo personal, sé más o menos dónde está la Vía Verde, pero realmente nunca he hecho el recorrido. Y de pronto muchas personas que viven en el área saben que existe, pero no saben dónde empieza, hasta dónde va. Entonces estaba pensando si pueden organizar con un grupo para la comunidad para hacer el recorrido en la Vía Verde y pues entender mejor en persona qué son los cambios, qué es lo que hay alrededor, por qué es importante en estas reuniones e involucrar un poco más en la comunidad con esto. Pero si se pueden organizar de pronto grupos de personas, no sé, una vez al mes para hacer un recorrido o algo así.
Adam,
Can you, or yeah, Alejandro, translate that?
he was probably translating it. You'll have to pick the English channel. So I will summarize what Mary was saying is that that what she recommends is that once a month or a couple times people get together to go around the Via Verde so that people know what it looks like, because she is aware of the Via Verde and knows about the project, but doesn't fully know where the Via Verde is or how it wraps around the neighborhood. And so that's just summarizing quickly what she said. If you want to put the map back up, Adam, and then make sure you have the channel. But that way, if any other questions come in Spanish, we could hear them.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that channel piece. That's just the interpretation.
Go to interpretation, and then select English and mute original audio.
Okay, so now you can still hear me now.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, I can.
Mhm.
Okay.
And so,
Are
Adam,
there
if you
any
want
other
to,
questions, comments?
well, I was going to suggest if you want to give just kind of a general idea of the full Via Verde, and in this map show where we're focused.
Jesus, can you hear me?
Yes, I could hear you.
Okay. So if there's no more questions or comments, thank you to everybody for.
Well, Adam, before you end, I think that I wanted to chime in on Mary's comment about wanting to do a walk around the Via Verde.
Sure.
We did a couple different caminatas back in, I want to say 2017 and again in 2019 of the Via Verde loop. And it definitely was a way that we were able to engage a lot more of the community in the project and getting feedback. I would love to help coordinate something like that. We have a lot of wayfinding that we've been working on to help really show where the Via Verde route is, but we know that we need to do more wayfinding implementation, but also engagement with residents, since I think that the pandemic kind of slowed us down on our community engagement. So, you know, it's been a couple of years since we did a walk with community. And it looks like in the chat, I saw Brooke said that she would be happy to help coordinate and support that with the Family Nature Club and DPR. And so I would like to follow up on that. Brooke, happy to connect with you and Mary offline, and we can see how we can coordinate something. Looking, you know, maybe we can spend the winter months planning something that coordinates with the public outreach and engagement that Adam will be doing in the spring.
Yeah, I think that sounds great. Happy to be involved and support it from the DPR side.
And maybe I can get some community artwork or something where we can actually get you all to participate in implementing wayfinding. So I'll just put that out there as well.
Cool, sounds good. Anything else from the chat, or Jesus, are we all tied up here?
I don't see any other questions, but I would give it maybe a minute or two as Alejandro does interpretation, just in case anyone else has additional questions.
Okay, sounds good.
And again, we thank you all for participating in this. To Adam's point, we will upload this information onto the project's page website. And we'll make sure to get you the information and work with you all in the future to make sure that we could do the walkthrough.
For those of you not catching up in the chat, we have a lot of partners coming together with those ideas and excited to move forward. And in the meantime, Trust for Public Land is also happy to engage with everyone as a partner with DPR and tag team with Adam as we plan things.
Yeah, that sounds great. Excited to push this project forward and start pushing concept to design and then to construction. So we're all excited, and anything we can do to kind of reinvigorate this idea and get the community interested and bought in, we're happy to support here at DPR.
Great. Well, seeing no other questions or no other comments coming out through the chat, we'll end the meeting. We're really excited about this project and we look forward to continuing to work on this. Again, if there's any questions or any comments on the actual project, please send those comments to Adam. I'll put the email in the chat one more time. That way you have that email. But with no other questions, we'll end tonight's meeting, and we thank you very much for coming and participating.
Thanks, everybody.